A very good morning to all. I, Jasdeep Kaur, on behalf of Government Polytechnic Jammu, welcome our worthy director, Shri Sudarshan Kumar, KS. I also welcome our keynote speaker for today, talk session on biomimicry, Shri Prashant Dhawan, Madam Ritu Jamwal, Principal of the Host Institute. I also extend my warm welcome to all the faculty members, staff, and students of the Institute who have joined us today. I believe today will be both a very insightful and an empowering day for all of us, as the talk session would unfold how nature has an answer to all our questions. I also feel privileged reading out such an empowering bio of our today's speaker. He is the co-founder of India's Biomimicry Institute. He is the first Indian to hold a master's degree in biomimicry from Arizona State University. He also owes a professional certification in the same. Let's together welcome Shri Prashant Dhawan, who is also a TEDx speaker. Without further ado, I request our worthy director, Shri Sudarshan Kumar, KS, to formally welcome our keynote speaker for today's talk session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I extend my warm welcome to Shri Prashant Dhawanji for today's talk. And I also welcome the faculty members and other participants who are participating today. I also appreciate the efforts of our Government Polytechnic Boys Principal and her team, who have organized this talk today on a very uncommon, I think, topic. I was reading from this pamphlet. Biomimicry is a practice that learns from and mimics the strategies found in nature to solve human design challenges and find hope. To me, I think using nature as a model and measurement tool for sustainability, we can create solutions to solve human problems. If Prashant Dhawanji allow me to speak, I would like to highlight our United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. They, I think, also address this issue. This biomimicry is a design ethic and a field which can help us to attain and achieve those goals and help us to live in harmony with nature. It can solve most of the problems. But I think this is not so common in our today's world, especially in a built environment. Although it is a field, it is a subject which we find is there in our daily lives. We can apply it in our daily lives. So I am sure today's talk will definitely open up new these vistas for all of the participants to think over. And it will also highlight the importance of this biomimicry in our everyday life and in our all the problems which humans are facing today. So I again welcome Prashant Dhawanji, and I am hoping to listen to him very, very patiently. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I now request Shri Prashant Dhawan to kindly take over this session and enlighten the audience. Thank you, sir, and over to you now.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. Sudarshan. Deeply grateful. Just want to check, can everybody hear me? Ma'am, can you just confirm if you can hear me, see me?
Yes, sir, it's perfectly fine. Please go ahead.
Okay, so first of all, my deep gratitude to the institution, to Honorable Shri Sudarshan sir, Jasdeep ji, and all of my fellow friends who are there. If you really think about it, I am talking to the same laptop. 5 minutes ago, I was buying sabzi on this laptop. Now I'm giving a talk. The world has changed. And we are not realizing, but we have changed. And that is what we are going to explore today. I am so happy that Mr. Sudarshan talked about the SDGs of UN. And the fact is that the reason I got interested in biomimicry in 2008 was when Mr. Peterhead, who is the champions of environment and who represents UN, spoke about it. And it is my invitation to you. And also, as we go along this talk, I would say don't treat me like an expert. Because the expert is outside, it is nature, as well as inside. We are also nature. The question is, do we know how to ask nature for solutions? And if we do, now I am going to start this talk with a challenge. And you are allowed to defeat me in this challenge. And I would love to see how you defeat me. This can carry on. My challenge is we already live in an abundance, world of abundance. You know, you've been hearing that scarcity hai, ye hai, wo hai. I am saying no. We are in a world of abundance. We have trapped ourselves into bad design. And if we get our designs right, we already live in a world of abundance. The question is how? Where do we look? Whom do we ask? So that is where my challenge is, that if we look towards nature and start aligning with nature, we can live a life of bliss and fulfillment. It's only when we don't align with nature that we have all these problems. So with that small challenge and that provocation, and I would want you to deal with this provocation in whatever you do. Forget just my 1 hour talk. My 1 hour talk is just a provocation. But for you, you are as much and rightful inhabitant of this planet as anybody else. So here's a provocation that we are trapped in bad design. So with that, let me share my screen and I'll take the next 45 minutes to give a presentation. After that, we'll have a question answer session. So I'll share my screen. It will be nice if you can just tell me if you can see it. Okay. Okay, can you see my screen? Can somebody, because I don't see anything, I just see my own screen. So just let me know if you can hear it and see my screen.
Just a second, I'll confirm, sir. No, sir, no, not visible.
My screen is not visible?
No, sir, it is not visible.
Okay, let me try again then.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yeah, so now it's getting presented. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Can you see? Can everybody see it now?
Yeah, sir, it's visible now.
Okay, and you can hear me?
Yes, sir, both.
Yeah, so if there's any problem, you can, either WhatsApp me or because often internet goes off and things like this happen. So sometimes I don't know. So please try and let me know if there's any problem.
No, sir.
Okay, so I request 40 minutes of your patience to take you through this little presentation. But in that, we will also have a few quizzes. So please feel free to just unmute and participate. It will be very nice. So don't worry. This is not a formal class. We would like as much participation as possible. So we call biomimicry as nature integrated design thinking. Nature integrated means that it takes into account all of living systems, not just humanity. As of now, you will see most of our education, most of our practice, it is all human-centered, as if humans are the only beings, and we all know that humans themselves are 60% made up of other microbes. But, well, that is what made sense because we were in an industrial way of living. It helped, it solved problems. But today, I think we have come to a point where we have to move on. We have to move on and become more holistic in our approach. So that's why we need new ways of learning, new ways of innovation. And biomimicry is one such method. And in fact, as our honorable chief guest said, it is not only aligned to UN. UN is one of the biggest endorsers of biomimicry. Now, if you go and check UNESCO's website, you'll find biomimicry is there. So we'll start with what is biomimicry, why now, and let's play with a straight bat. What's in it for me? Mujhe kya fayda, right? Until unless we know that, nothing in our industrial age makes sense. So we should ask that question, what's in it for me? And once we figure out that not only this is the right way for me, but it's also the way that we should develop, then I think you wouldn't need a lecture from me. Then you yourself will become a proponent. And I hope that will happen. So, but before we do go there, let's not lose the uniqueness of this movement. We are emerging from a global pandemic. At least I hope so. This has been a tricky virus. I hope by now we will be emerging. But do you realize something? That this small virus, which we don't know, but it is said that it might have emerged in some small town in some place, so fast has affected all of us. So much so that we have paused our economy, we have paused our society. Why? Because it shows that everything is connected to everything else. It's small, half alive. See, we often forget that. We are so busy in our everyday worries that we forget that everything is connected to everything. I think this virus is reminding us, look at things holistically. Everything is connected to everything. So what has happened? We have paused many things. Today I am talking to my laptop, and through my laptop I am talking to you all. This is unusual. So for a moment, I would want you to forget about, since we have paused the economy, forget about your worries and anxieties. How will this lecture help me earn money? How will this get me a job? Will I get married? I know these worries. I have been a student myself. For a moment, forget all these worries. Let's think, how should we live? How should we live on this planet? So be in harmony with the planet, and to create a planet which, instead of being worried about scarcity and fear, it's about abundance and hope. Can we do that? My challenge is, yes, we can. We just have to think, where do we look? Kisse puche, kahan jaye? That's what we will do. So let's begin with a quiz. So please, my friends, don't worry. There's no protocol. Just unmute and let me know the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a logo. You have to tell me what is the product that this company makes. Can anybody tell me? Can you see this logo? What does this company make? Oh, so many of you. See, so fast. It didn't even take 1 second. All of you realize. So what does it do? It's an adhesive. Adhesive is something where you stick something to another stick. But most of these adhesives also have a problem. They have a problem that if you stick, it only sticks one time. You want to unstick it and stick it again, you have to use new adhesive. Another problem with adhesive is that often when water comes, then the adhesive starts coming apart. And a third problem with human-made adhesives is that over time, they start disintegrating and they give out what we call volatile organic compounds, and they are bad for human health. Now I'm going to show you another graphic. Tell me quickly what it is. Can you tell me what this is? Anybody?
Gecko.
Gecko, very good. Gecko, lizard. Or, this family we know. Now tell me honestly, have you seen a lizard running upside down on the ceiling in your room? Almost in a week, I see one every day. Now tell me honestly, have you seen? Yes or no? Please unmute
Yes,
it.
sir. Yes, sir.
Now tell me, here is an example of an adhesive where this lizard, the feet of the lizard, it is sticking, unsticking while in motion and carrying a load. Now tell me, my friends, which is a better adhesive? The one you saw above or the one you see below?
The one we saw below, sir.
Oh, okay. And you see it every day. Good. So this is the process of awakening. Sometimes our education. There's somebody, I'm getting a feedback. Can you just mute your mic? Somebody's mic is getting okay. So now, I don't know, you guys are in Jammu Kashmir, but for those of you who've traveled near the seashore, have you seen something like this? Does anybody know what this is? Anybody? Okay, let me tell you. These are like shells, like oysters. Common shells. ये आपको जो shells वगैरह मिलते हैं. But they are next to the seashore. Now, next to the seashore, the rocks are very, very slippery. But these, and not only are the rocks slippery, they are being pounded by waves. In spite of that, these shells keep on sticking. Now imagine, this is an adhesive which is not only waterproof, but it is able to take continuous pull and push, and when it dies, which is millions of years old, or the technology you see above, which is less than 80 years old. Which is a better technology? I think it's obvious that the technology of nature is way, way better than the technology that we think we have created. Similarly, can you tell me what you see above and what you see below? Anybody? Can you hear me? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is audible.
Yeah. Can you tell me what this is? Anybody?
Lotus leaf.
Yes. And what you see below are peacock flowers, right? Why I'm telling you? Because we should be knowing lotus is a very important, plant in India, and peacock is our national bird. But why is the lotus leaves so interesting? Because it never gets dirty. It grows in extremely dirty waters, but it never gets dirty. And also, if you look at, peacock feathers, forget peacock feathers, any feathers. Have you ever seen a faded peacock feather? Now, why I'm asking you is that we think we are creating great technologies. We create paints, we create colors for our clothing, and they always end up fading or getting dirty. Why don't the peacock feathers get dirty? Peacock or other birds, they don't have a choice. They have to be in rain, ultraviolet light, and dust storms. Similarly, a lotus leaf doesn't have a choice. It's stuck in place. It has to deal with rain, dust, dirt. How come it keeps itself clean? You might not know the answer, but do you have the question? See, the first thing for any nation or any person to be innovative is to think without fear, to reopen your curiosity, at least wonder, how does nature do it? Only when you start wondering how does nature do it, then you find the answer. Once you find the answer, it unlocks innovation. So, now if I was to show you this logo, I think all of you will say Asian Paints. So Asian Paints have all these problems. The paint gets dirty, the paint gets faded. Even our shirts, things which we wear, they get dirty. So what I'm trying to provoke you, and I want to challenge you. These are your problems. These are your answers. But the question is, the same education which has created so much liberty and opened us to so much freedom can also become our prison. So you might be sitting next to your answer, but you just don't know how to ask nature. Isn't it true? So many of the answers to our problems are already there. So that's why I wanted to begin that we have become so economy present that we have become place blind. Now, if I show you these logos, I'm sure in 10 seconds, all of you will tell me what these logos are. But let me ask you, can you identify 10 plants or animals that we see every day and tell me 10 functional technologies which are better than human solutions? I am sure most of you will be Googling now. That's okay. I know that. That's because we have stopped paying attention to nature. And when you stop paying attention to nature, then we are busy looking busy or busy being busy and not making too much progress. And I promise you, as we go along, you'll see most of the answers we are looking for are all around us. It's just that we don't know how to ask these questions. Why is it happening? So let me tell you what I feel. And I want to invite you as fellow inhabitants. Don't think that you are a student, I am a facilitator. No. Right now, we are all equal. So I think what has happened in the last 200 years, in the industrial era, that economy has become a little too important. It has become so important that we've started looking at nature as ecology as a raw material. Now put your hand to your heart. Isn't it true that whenever we look at nature, we start looking at nature as if it is raw material? How do I shape it? How do I use nature so that it fits in and nourishes the economy? Isn't it so? Ask yourself. Similarly, my fear is that we have even started looking at ourselves, our own fellow human beings, as raw material. How do I shape my people so that they fit into the economy and nourish the economy? Isn't it true? So I have to really give my deep gratitude to this little virus, because this little virus has reminded us that the economy you can pause, the society or social functions you can pause, but what you can't pause is life. Try and pausing life. You can't pause life. Why? This is important. This moment is very important for us to understand that economy is our creation. We created the economy to serve us. It is a servant. It is a tool that we created to serve us. And if your servant has become your master and you don't even remember, then you are in trouble. So first thing is, let us use this moment to remind ourselves that the economy is our tool. It is our servant. Is it serving us? Or if we need to change it, we should change it. If we completely feel that that cannot change and the environment will change to fit into the economy, my friends, it's the wrong framework. We will get nowhere. Similarly, the society is an emergent outcome. It has to fit into the ecology. It's not outside nature. It has to be shaped to be in alignment with the economy. So that's the first thing that we have to do. Get your frameworks right. That we have to design our economy so that it is in service of society. And we have to design the human society so that it's perfectly aligned and in harmony with the ecology. That's it. That's a very simple thing. I am sure all of us will agree. And if you agree that, that's when the conversation begins. Because if you are now saying that, the Industrial Revolution was very good, we have gone from A to B, but now we have to realign ourselves. The question is, whom do you ask? Where do you look? And the great opportunity for all of you, and especially for India, not only India, the entire world, is that while we are facing so many big problems, let me be very honest, we are a spoiled generation. We are also one of the most privileged generation. We have the kind of capabilities which nobody had. So you have quantum computing, artificial intelligence, you have nanotechnology, you have additive manufacturing. Now what is happening? Instead of using these things to improve our life, most of us are afraid. Arey, artificial intelligence is coming, mera job chale jayega. The most foolish species I've ever seen. First you make a technology, then you become afraid of the technology. I think aliens are not coming to India or to this planet because they just die laughing at our foolishness. The question we should be asking is, what do we want to do with these technologies? Because at one point, these are tremendous possibilities. At another point, you have these amazing problems, climate change, environmental pollution, poverty, waste. And I'm challenging you unemployment is also a waste. Have you ever seen an unemployed plant or animal? Think about it. It is a design flaw. We have designed a system which cannot accommodate its parts. It's a design flaw and we can solve it. Similarly, chronic addiction. None of these things you find in nature. And only when we start thinking freely, you will see that we are victims of our own design. That's my challenge to you. The question is, what do we do with our new capabilities? Arey, kya kare bhai? Artificial intelligence, nanotechnology. That's where we should be asking this question. How do we create a better world? Where do we look? Whom do we ask? And Gandhi, the father of the nation, once said, sometimes slowing down might be good. Because speed is irrelevant if you're going in the wrong direction. Imagine we are all in a big bus and that bus is heading towards a ditch. Sab khai mein girenge. But out of habit, if we are fighting for the window seat, that's the state of the world, isn't it? We are so used to window seat chahiye. Arey bhai, ek hi planet hai. Gaya to sab gaye. So it's a good time we should reflect that can we do a directional change? So the essential question, whom do we ask? Where do we look? It is very difficult now to trust each other, right? We don't trust. Corporations have their own agenda. Think tanks have their own agenda. Everybody seems to have an agenda. So kisse puche? I think nature doesn't have too much of an agenda. Nature is common. We are also nature. So let's look towards nature. So what you see here, now you see here some accidents are happening, right? And this is the most intelligent species on the planet, human beings. Both intelligent. And everywhere you go, you will find that they are having accidents. Now I'll give you another graphic. Do you see this graphic? There are birds flying, insects flying, and so many fishes. I'm sure all of us are seeing these kind of things every day. Now tell me truly, have you ever heard that today 100 birds collided into each other, or so many insects have collided into each other, or so many fishes collided into each other? And they don't have police, they don't have roads, traffic systems, technology. In spite of that, no accident happens. Now tell me, my friends, are the rules of engineering, physics, chemistry, mathematics different in these two systems, or are they the same? Can somebody tell me, are they the same or are they different? Please unmute. Let me know. I am not very educated. I want to ask you. Are the rules on planet Earth different? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
अरे भाई इतना सन्नाटा क्यों है?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're hearing.
Okay, so these are important things, because today when we are getting into driverless cars, Internet of Things, smart cities, what do we mean by that? We mean something which will be responding and creating, their self-regulating systems. Hey, bhai, all these self-regulating systems are all around us. These birds are self-regulating. These fishes are self-regulating. These insects. The only thing is, we need to ask the question, what are the rules? What are the algorithms they are using? And can we use these algorithms to create our smart systems? In fact, that is exactly what is happening. For those of you who have studied, you will realize this is called swarm logic. This is the fundamental thing which leading technologists have learned from birds, fishes, locusts, and they are using to create algorithms which will now create the era of driverless cars, of self-regulating traffic lights, so many human solutions. Similarly, do you know we are not the first ones to use sanitizers? Do you think we are the first ones who have to face a pandemic? After all, ants, termites, they also live in huge colonies, hundreds and thousands of them living together. Isn't it possible that they also have an outbreak of some kind of a disease? And they have been on Earth for millions of years. The human species is only very young. We've just arrived. So how have they been managing these viral outbreaks? So if you start looking, paying attention, you'll find that amongst ants, there are many species of ants which use tree resin, which is like a sanitizer, not only to line their nest, but to also protect their bodies. So my friends, I'm sorry to say, we are not the first ones to use sanitizers. Sanitizers have been used in nature for millions of years. Similarly, there are many species of termites, ants, and other things which also get infected. But now, if they go back and touch their entire colony, they can infect the colony. So they have evolved behaviors where in the case of infection, many of these termites will send a signal to other termites saying that stay away. Or some of these ants will leave the colony. Now, isn't that what we are calling social distancing or quarantine? So I'm sorry to say, we are not the first ones to think of these technologies. They have been there on planet Earth. It's just that we have not been paying attention. Similarly, there is another species of ants. In that case, some of these ants get infected by a fungus, and which can lead to infection to the entire colony if the fungal infection grows. So now, instead of abandoning, they do have another technique. What they do is, if an individual gets infected, they clean up that individual so that all of these little ants get a little bit of that infection so that it gives them immunity. Now, instead of abandoning, they clean up, but all of get infected. Now, isn't that in many ways the same design principle of what we call herd immunity or vaccination? So quite clearly, we are not the first ones to come up with vaccination or herd immunity or social immunization. All of this is happening all around us. Similarly, we are struggling that we need to create a world of amazing colors, amazing flavors, amazing fragrances. Look at, you're in Jammu Kashmir. What a beautiful place. Look around you. Nature is full of amazing colors, amazing fragrances, amazing flavors. But all of these flavors, fragrances, and colors, they do their job without creating any pollution, any waste. In fact, they nourish the planet. But the kind of fragrances, flavors, and colors we make are causing damage to the planet. At least we should be wondering, can I start imitating how nature makes color, how nature makes flavor, how nature makes a fragrance, so that I achieve what I want to achieve without harming the planet? Begin with that question. The answer is just next to you. We just have to start looking. Similarly, clothing, fashion industry. What does clothing do? It actually protects us from outside elements. Now, if you look at the birds around us, the camels, the polar bears, they are also getting protected from extreme cold to extreme heat to waterproof. At least we should be asking that their insulation, that doesn't harm the planet. How does it get manufactured? How does it dissolve back into the earth? And yet, can I learn something from these animals and creatures so that I start shifting my production technology such that instead of harming the planet, it starts nourishing the question? These are the questions leading edge institutions as well as technologies are asking today, and they will be tomorrow's technology. And it is high time India gets on board so that we don't become distributors of Western knowledge. We should create our own knowledge. And our knowledge, nobody can stop us because nature is democratic. Anybody can learn from nature. Similarly, we teach at National Institute of Design, and in National Institute of Design, the shape of the lota or the matka, which is an Indian design, is celebrated as an amazing achievement of India. I'm a very proud Indian, but I have to humbly admit that, my friends, amongst humans, we were the first inventors of the shape. But if you look at nature, millions of years ago, the potter wasp, which is a tataya, they have been using this shape for millions of years. So there again, if we pay attention, you'll realize many things that we think we are inventing are already there in nature. Similarly, you are in Kashmir. All of you are familiar with pine cones. But do you know that a pine cone opens and closes on its own based on external temperature? So I'm just showing this video where you'll find a pine cone which is not linked to any tree. There is no electrical wire. This is a 26-hour video. It opens when the conditions become hot and dry, and it will close on its own when the conditions become moist and cold. Now, how many of you knew that? I'm hoping you did because you are in Jammu Kashmir. But if you didn't, try this experiment. See, we are not paying attention. Now, this is what we call a programmable smart material, Even without electricity, it is responding to external stimulus and closing and opening on its own. Now, if we understand the technology or the design behind this, we can solve so many of our problems. In fact, a lot of architects today are creating Venetian blinds and other things, which without requiring anything, these are called smart materials. Now, this is the packaging of nature. And at the end of its life, it just becomes fertilizer. But look at our packaging. So much investment, and we think we are smart. We are very, very dumb, I'm sorry to say. If we could just understand how nature does that and replicate that, we can create so many solutions. But a lot of my friends will say, "Arey, nature is only soft things. We need hard things. We need tensile things, steel." Again, pay attention. I'm sure all of you have seen spider webs. You know, the thread of a spider web in terms of weight is stronger than steel. Similarly, if you go to the seaside, you'll find these things which are called limpets. The teeth of these limpets are as strong as carbon nanofiber, but more flexible. So that defeats our assumption that nature only has soft material. Nature has tremendously hard material and tremendously strong tensile material. And all these materials are made using normal carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen compounds which are readily available, which do not cause any pollution or waste, and they go back into the planet and become nutrition. The question is, we haven't asked the question, how does nature do it? And can I start doing that and replacing my processes? That's the question today we should be asking. Remember, I started by saying you have the technologies, but do you have the imagination? So today we need a new imagination. All these technologies that you have today, artificial intelligence, nanotechnology, additive manufacturing, they are the doorways to learning how nature does it. And if we start doing it like nature, we don't have a problem. Similarly, distribution of water. You know, when I go to engineering colleges, I give these students a problem that you have to transport water from level 0 to level 100 using minimum energy. And I give them an exercise, and they often go out to look at databases. They go to the library. Some of them will sit beneath a tree and Google. And then I tell them, you were sitting beneath a tree which might be 100-year-old, and it has been transporting water vertically to the smallest of channel at its leaf. Where is your sense of wonder? You should be wondering, how does the tree do it? Because once you understand how a tree does it, can unlock possibilities which are today possible. That is where the new technologies and capabilities we should be using. Similarly, one of the big problems that India faces, not only India, the world faces, is water, fresh water. If you really see, India is blessed with an amazingly long coastline. You know, from Gujarat to Odisha, West Bengal, we have a huge coastline. So if we just learn how to desalinate water, we don't really have a water problem. But are we the first ones to desalinate water? If you eat marine fish is fish which is in salt water, you can eat that fish because inside the fish, the water is fresh. So clearly, the fish knows how to desalinate water. Similarly, if you go to mangroves, inside the xylem and phylum of these trees, the water is desalinated. So clearly, the technology of desalination without any chemicals or energy is there in nature. The question is, we don't know how it's being done. Similarly, let's look at, I don't know how many of you have seen a termite mound. A termite mound is really like a common colony. जैसे हमारा होता है ना, like our roads and all, they are common infrastructure. But our common infrastructure, if it is broken, you know how difficult it is to get it repaired because it's nobody's concern. But when in nature a termite mound is damaged, they are able to repair it within 2-3 hours or maybe a maximum a day. At least we should be wondering, how do they do it? Now you'll be surprised. Looking at their strategies, things like London Business School, Harvard Weiss Institute, they are saying that how can we create self-regulated, decentralized systems which are more resilient. In fact, one of United Nations goals is resilience. So they are looking at termites. How do they create that resilient structures? Similarly, look at honeybees. Aren't you surprised? How can these small bees create such a sophisticated engineering thing like a beehive, which is hexagonal, perfectly shaped? And also, how do they take a decision where to locate? These are the kind of possibilities which are today the cutting edge of technology and innovation wherever you go. Similarly, urban systems. Now, have you ever wondered if I put 5 of you in a team, how difficult it is for humans to work in a team? A team has to take decisions, and when decisions have taken, you have to accomplish a task. You should at least be wondering, how come these ants, how do they take a decision? And once they take a decision, how do they accomplish a task? Because if they don't do that, they will collapse. Yet they are one of the most successful species on the earth. Now, using that intelligence, my friends, you are already behaving like ants. When you give a feedback on your mobile phone, or when you go to buy something from an online website and they say give a star rating, where do you think this strategy or this algorithm is coming from? I'm not going to give you an answer. I think you already will start figuring out, but you'll realize how do so many independent, not so intelligent individuals lead to collective self-regulating system. That is coming from the study of ants and termites. Similarly, today there are big words like carbon sequestration. Arey bhai, is it a new thing? If you look at nature, nature has always been sequestering carbon. Our soil, our trees, our oceans, they are the biggest. So what is happening? When you understand and then you say that this is what we need to do, so pehle hi dekh lete na. So in many ways, what I'm saying is we might be using fancy words, carbon sequestration, circular economy. But if you are humble enough and truthful, you will find we are eventually mimicking what nature is doing. Similarly, let's look at circular economy. It's a big word. But is it anything new? Look at nature. Have you ever seen waste in a forest? You go to a million-year-old forest. It has always been one process's outcome is another process's income. Similarly, we do a lot of workshops for information technology companies. We just did something for Mercedes-Benz, also for ISRO. And they would say, "Arey bhai, what is the connection between biology and information technology?" Now, I don't know how many of you know the father of computer science is popularly known as Mr. Alan Turing. Has anybody heard of Mr. Alan Turing? Yes or no? So, okay.
Yes, sir.
I don't have too much time. We started a bit late, so I might be running a little. Ajay, let me know how much time I have or if I need to close.
Sir, you can take. Please go ahead.
Okay, so can I take 15 more minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, sir, please.
So Alan Turing, he's supposed to be the father of programmable computing. He did not necessarily look at nature. He was given the job by Winston Churchill to create an algorithm so that they could decode German signals. And he found an algorithm. Because of that, it is claimed that Germany lost because the Germans didn't know that their signals are being decoded. But eventually he realized many of his algorithms, which he thought he had invented, could also explain how the zebra is getting its stripe, the leopard is getting its spots, and that got him curious. That are there algorithms in nature? And he died very young. I think a lot of you might know about him. But he had the humility to say that what I thought I am inventing was but an independent discovery of what is already in nature. And he felt that a lot of innovation will happen when we start looking at nature. So very few people in information technology actually know that. But if you really look at information technology, I always tell them, what are the new words that you are saying? So they say neural networks. Acha, where does neural come from? Biology. Evolutionary algorithms. Acha, so where does evolution? So biology. So in many ways, unconsciously they are already deriving from biology. But because in our education system, you are given a choice in 10th standard. By PCM, PCME, biology wale alag. So that huge problem has happened. But as you go deeper, you'll realize many of the things we think are not connected are deeply connected. All this I wanted to say, and this is very, very small. I hope I've got you curious enough and you will do your own research. I promise you, nature has already solved many of the problems we grapple with today. So let's take another quiz, very fast quiz. Now, can you tell me where this is found and what is this very quickly?
penguin will come.
Penguin. Okay, since we have less time, I'll just say myself. So this is a penguin. We can all say that this is found in very cold regions. This is a polar bear. We know it is found in. We just have to look and we will tell. Or similarly, this is a camel. But if you look at human design, you really can't say where it is found everywhere. And this is one of the big problems where we are having sustainability issues. Because we have designed a world, nature's native species are designed such that they thrive and they survive in a way they don't need anybody's help. A penguin doesn't need anybody to come and feed it or give it energy. It has designed itself to be place appropriate. You know, we say Atmanirbhar. This is true Atmanirbhar. A polar bear needs nobody's help. It is designed for the place. A camel doesn't need anybody's help. But the way we have designed our world, if we cut off the electricity, if we cut off food supply, things, and that is the reason it is unsustainable. Nature's designs are always place-based. They are designed such that they thrive on whatever is locally available and locally abundant. So that is the design that fits in and are successful. And one of the big problems that we are not really understanding is our designs are not place-based. And we are just being busy trying to do what we call, stopgap measures, trying to solve problems. If you right in the beginning understand that my design, if I am designing something in Jammu Kashmir, it should be based on Jammu Kashmir. If I am designing something in Orissa, it should be based on that is truly place-based design. And one of the best ways is to look at nature. So later, nature's design emerged from deep context and they fit into the context. And then they also keep on changing. So what we call, they dance with dynamic context, that as things change, they adapt and evolve. And the big difference is in nature, everything is life-centered because life is interconnected. Unfortunately, we have become very human-centered. And we have this little gentleman called the COVID virus has reminded us that we are not isolated, we are connected to everything. So if we disturb things, we will also get disturbed. So the idea is, how do you become life-centered from customer-centered? And the other thing, a lot of you should be wondering, how can we trust evolution? It's possible that nature's design could also be flawed, which is a valid question. Anybody who's a student should be questioning this. So I don't have too much time today, but let me tell you, a lot of work has happened, a lot of research to understand that how can we trust nature's design. So over analysis, and many people whom I quote, they have understood that what is alive today is only 0.001% of the number of species that have come on Earth. And they have been there for around 3.8 billion years. The life of Earth is 4.5 billion years, and living systems have been on Earth for 3.8 billion years. And of these 3.8 billion years, human species have been around only for 250,000 years. So if you really see, in our Indian culture, we say ke apne buzurgon se sikho. So our buzurg, or from the cyanobacteria to, they are our buzurg, and they have been on this planet successfully for 3.8 billion years. And whatever was not working has been eliminated. So what we see today is R&D of 3.8 billion years. And human species has really been here for 250,000 years. And out of those 250,000 years, the real knowledge that we have created, of which you are studying in your college or wherever, is based on the last 200 years. So just imagine, you are ignoring 3.8 billion years of knowledge and only dependent on 200 years. That is where unintended consequences are happening. We are repeatedly getting into problems. The question is, how do we do that? And that's where biomimicry comes in. Because everything that you do on the planet does not escape the operating conditions of the planet. Everything is part of the planet, whether it's your politics or your manufacturing or whatever things we come up with. And we are a very young species. We are a very arrogant species, but we are a very young species. We are not the first ones to survive this planet. So you will know, if there is a nuclear bomb, humanity will die, but maybe a cockroach will survive. And that's a good, humbling thing to remember. That can we learn something from these other species? And what has happened is, one of the key things of biomimicry is See, all this is fine, but as practitioners, you will say all this is fine, but we need measurable tools, some parameters, so that we can apply it in day-to-day life. So what we find in living systems is over 3.8 billion years, there is one common design principle which all life agrees to. And that is that no species, no process, or no system violates conditions which are conducive for all life to flourish, not their own life alone, but all life. And in that, there are three very, very critical parameters. What are the three critical parameters? One is the amount of water. This shows you the total amount of water on this planet, whether it is oceans, ice, water vapor. This shows you the total amount of atmosphere, and this is the soil. These are the three sacred layers which we call life support systems: water, atmosphere, soil. Over 3.8 billion years, they have been enhanced. And anything that starts disturbing with these life support system eventually goes extinct. Now you understand why there is so much concern that we are saying, "Arey, save water, arey, save soil," because without this, the entire living system gets disturbed. And that is one of the key things in biomimicry: create conditions conducive to life. The question is, how do we do that? So that's where biomimicry comes in, that as an engineer, as a designer, you will say, okay, I agree that create conditions. Now you give me measurable parameters. So that, of course, is a full course. I had to go through 25 months to do that. And for you, I'll just want to share with you that today, all these tools, these methods, these databases are available. In these 10 minutes, I can only give you a very brief glimpse. But for those of you who are interested, you should try and get deeper into it so that you can start applying it. This is just a graph to show you, also give you a context that why you will find a lot of people are still denying that nothing really is happening. This is all a hoax. It's not that they are necessarily, know something better. It's that the human population was only 500 million till year 1500. Until year 1900, there were only 1 billion of us. So there is a civilizational memory where people say, "Arey nahi, maine to dekha hai, aisa kabhi nahi hota," But what has happened in the last 100 years is amazing. From 1 billion, we have grown to 7 billion. The entire base has changed. The base has changed, but our civilizational memory is stuck. So young people like you have to show them the science that, your memory is based on a very different reality. Operating conditions have changed. There were never 7 billion of us and grown so fast. So these are the areas of concern where it's no longer a joke or something that we can guess on. We have to urgently move on these fronts. And one of the other things that is becoming relevant is a lot of ancient knowledge. Not everything is important, but a lot of ancient knowledge, which is the deep cultural knowledge, especially of Indian way of living, because that was developed as an ecological context. And a lot of current knowledge has only been developed in economic context. So what is happening is that people are saying we can't be just human-centered, we can't be just economy-centered, we can't be just technology-centered, we need to be life-centered. But how? And that's where biomimicry comes in, that how do we shift from being human-centered to life-centered? And that's where, things like United Nations and all, and you will increasingly say that people, they might use different words, but we are all moving in this direction. How do we become life-centered? So biomimicry, how is it different? So biomimicry is now one method, and probably right now the best method to shift from human-centered to life-centered, because it tells you that while doing whatever you're doing, continue to do, but also ask the question, what would nature do here? And then look at, and you will often find that there is a better way of doing the same thing without harming the planet. So it's like design thinking. It's a solution finding approach. It expands your solution search to 3.8 billion years of evolution, not just the little knowledge which is contained in your library or a few books or Google. And it tries to take into account the whole system. And the best thing about biomimicry is no species outside of the industrial Homo sapien has taken any IP. So think about yourself. Think about India. If we go to biomimicry, nobody can say, you are violating IP rights, you can't do that. You will say, I'm taking it from nature. Whose right am I violating? That's the big opportunity. And here again, nature is your biggest creative commons. So now let's get into how do we apply biomimicry. This I'm going to just do very fast, but I can assure you that there is an entire science, structure, and method to that. So when we start applying biomimicry, we do form-based emulation, process-based emulation, and system-based emulation. So what do we mean by form? So a lot of you already know the bullet train. The bullet train is called bullet train, but it doesn't look like a bullet. Have you wondered why? Because it started, when it was designed, it looked like a bullet, because at that time scientists used to think that the bullet shape is the most efficient space for flowing through fluids, because air is a fluid. It is only later that they realized that the bullet train was creating problems when it used to go through tunnels in Japan. It was causing a sonic boom, and this problem was given to a Japanese engineer who observed a kingfisher bird, and when it dives, it doesn't create a single ripple in the water. Why? Because if suppose its beak is going inside the water and the ripple is created, we all know that light reflects and refracts, so it will lose sight of its prey. So it has an amazing shape which doesn't create any drag. So they emulated the shape of the kingfisher bird, and that is what we call emulation of form. And today, what India is paying Japan for, Japan did not pay the kingfisher bird anything for this technology. Not only that, on top of that train is what we call the pantograph. That is the part of the train which touches the overhead wires. Now imagine at 300 kilometers an hour, how much vibration it would create. So they also looked at nature to solve the problem of vibration. And they found that one of the most silent flyers on the planet is the owl. And one of the most efficient gliding, creature is the Adele penguin. So if they can minimize vibration using technologies from the owl and penguin, they can solve it. And in fact, that's what they did. So all these three are the real designers of this train for which we are paying Japan, but the Japan has not paid anything to these three creatures. So, but that's form-based biomimicry. Now imagine if we say, how is the beak manufactured? The beak is manufactured within the body. It doesn't get raw material from outside. It doesn't have a chimney. It doesn't create any heat or pollution. Can we shift our manufacturing so that we don't produce any pollution, we don't produce any waste, and do it like nature? That's called process-based manufacturing. Now I go back to my initial slide. What do you do with your artificial intelligence, your additive manufacturing, and your nanotechnology? This is the possibility that we can entirely shift our manufacturing to become zero waste, zero pollution. Think about it. Similarly, if you see how a kingfisher lives, a kingfisher lives in a system that while it takes from the system, it also gives back. Overall, it fits into the system in such a way that while it is taking, it is giving back, the overall health of the system is always enhanced. Now that's what we call system-based biomimicry. So how do we design our products, our processes, and our subsystems so that they fit in a way they nourish the system they are part of? So imagine it could be a school, it could be a factory, it could be a political system, anything. But it should be such that while it is taking, it is also giving back in a way that the overall system is always enhanced. So imagine if you say, a factory is coming to my town, instead of worrying about it, can we imagine that we are happy that the factory will clean my air, it will clean my water? That's the possibility. And I'm challenging you, as you go around, you'll find these are the things we should be spending our time on because we have the tools. So biomimicry is really what we call the emulation of the design principle. There are many sub things like bioutilization, biomorphism, biophilia, biomimetic engineering, biocollaboration. I'm just leaving you with this because we are really running short of time, but there's a lot that is happening. And it would be a pity if today in 2022, we don't even pay attention, because again, we will become distributors of Western knowledge. While today we have the opportunity to create our own. So I would encourage you, today you are not bound by anything. If you have internet, you can do your own research. So true biomimicry is an ideal goal, which I think everybody should have. And it is my prediction that slowly in the 5 to 10 years under various guises, this will become our common goal, which starts giving direction to human development. Right now, we are all doing various things which are brilliant, but together they are not becoming very coherent. Biomimicry has that amazing ability to give direction to development. So there are many case studies. I'll quickly go through. So I think all of you know Velcro is a biomimicry product. It is inspired by the burrs which get stuck on your sweaters. Similarly, recently Mercedes-Benz designed a car. It's called the Bionic Car. It was designed inspired by the shape of a boxfish. You know, a boxfish is a fish which has a boxy shape, yet it is able to deal with turbulence very well. Now, that solves the contradictory problem. We need more space, yet we need to be very efficient in terms of dealing with fluid resistance. That they couldn't find scientifically. By observing a fish, they found this shape. And not only that, today, because of additive manufacturing, you can manufacture things which earlier seemed fantastic. So today, they use the algorithm of how bones are formed to come up with a structure which is as strong as required by the European standards, but with minimum material. So this is the structure they came up with, which has 30% less material and 30% less weight, therefore higher fuel efficiency, but as strong. And why can we manufacture it today? Because today you have additive manufacturing. Similarly, based on the lotus leaf, new paints are coming up. You must be seeing these advertisements that they never get dirty. Inspired by the shark skin. There are many sharks which never get any infection. New kind of surfaces are being developed which don't get any infections. Imagine the huge business opportunity after pandemics. From toilet handles, public toilet handles, to common spaces like waiting lobbies of railway stations, to surgical, medical equipment, to hospitals. All these surfaces, they are being developed. Now, can't we develop them in an Indian institute? We can, because this is from nature. Nobody can stop it. Similarly, new dresses which will never fade based on the colors of the butterfly. Already companies like Morphotex are coming up. So these dresses will never fade, and you will hardly need any detergent to clean them. And if you multiply them with 1 billion dresses, you'll see how these small innovations lead to a sustainable world. Similarly, new type of glues or sticking mechanism which don't have any chemical, purely based on the micro texture. This is called Gecko Tape. It has already been developed. This will not lose its adhesion even after years. Imagine the kind of problems it is solving. Imagine so many places where we need adhesives. Similarly, based on how our blood clots, new technologies are coming where imagine you have a pipe and the pipe develops a leak, and supposing it's underground or it is embedded, it's so much of a problem. Now imagine like our body, if it can self-heal. Now based on how the body self-heals, this company called Plateless Technologies has developed technologies which can heal a pipe on its own. More efficient windmills inspired by whale fins. And one of the biggest innovations that has happened is cement manufacturing, which is one of the most polluting industries. But if you look at nature, nature also has shells, coral reefs. How are they manufactured? They don't create any pollution. Now, instead of creating carbon dioxide and burning material, scientists understood how does nature do it. So using carbon dioxide, using seawater, changing the pH level, instead of polluting, they are using pollution as a raw material and producing this new cement. It's called green cement, and many companies like Blue Planet, Calera have already started. So as we sit and think that nothing is happening, a lot of things are happening. The point is, do you become part of the solution or will you be part of the problem? So I think this is our time. India should also start looking at these things. Similarly, many things. Imagine there are so many people who are into road building. We'll be building so many roads. One of the problem with road building is your clothes get dirty, your shoes, your gloves, because the tar is very sticky. So they have developed these new material where nothing sticks. It's called the slip slab, inspired by what these are pitcher plants which have a very slippery surface. And similarly, how do you create abundance without increasing the resources that you are using? But in fact, you decrease the amount of resources and energy, yet increase abundance. This is called industrial ecology, based on how nature works, where nothing is wasted. It is so designed that one thing's waste becomes another thing's requirement. For example, supposing you have a boiler. You have a boiler which is creating huge amount of heat. Now, in our industry, what has happened, they will add additional energy to cool down that boiler. Netherlands, what they said, this energy, this excess heat can be given to another household because that's a cold country. That cap needs heat. So using that thinking at various level, new systems are being designed. One thinks output becomes a welcome input of another thing. So actually, just by improving design, you reduce resources, you reduce energy, yet you increase sufficiency. Amazing possibilities. So today, by Termite Mound, new buildings are being designed which do not require air conditioning. And you must be wondering, have students done? I have overshot my time, so I'll just quickly go through some of the student projects. So this is the student projects of NID Vijayawada. We're inspired by ants. These students have designed systems which, during floods will become like rafts. And they are your first level of security in case of climate change related floods. Similarly, this is Ahmedabad University where students inspired a new filtration system inspired by the kidneys of the kangaroo rat. Our RO filtration systems create so much wastewater, there would be zero wastewater. Similarly, this was actually a corporate team which came up to design biodegradable packaging. And not only did they design biodegradable packaging, they realized that one of the biggest reason of waste, especially in Western countries, is that all of our perishable products have a expiry date. Often the food inside is still usable, but the expiry date is saying that it's gone, so you waste it. In nature, a banana or an apple or an orange will actually tell you when it's gone bad. So using that mechanism, they are designing a new packaging system which will tell you real time when the food has become truly unusable. Similarly, this is NID Bangalore. These people looked at cats and how cats always fall on their feet and never damage. This is design principles. Based on these design principles, they've designed a cell phone cover so that no matter where the cell phone falls, it will always fall on its back and save its screen. They've also designed gunny bags which during disaster relief often get damaged. These will not get damaged. Imagine, these are our students. This is NID of Kurukshetra. These people have designed a new system of enhancing teamwork. That how come dogs which hunt in a team, they are able to work so well. How do they develop their teamwork? How do they play? And in play, how do they understand how to take each other's cue? So based on these design principles, they've designed an app. There have been even bigger projects where things like gender equality and trust building have been done using biomimicry. These are just some of the projects that I just wanted to show you why, because it's surprising that it's such a potential subject, and in India, maybe because we've been so colonized that we are taking so long to integrate it into our education systems. I hope your institute will become a thought leader. But this is what I want to show you, that this is already happening. But there is a very big departure of biomimicry from our current education and practice. And that is that biomimicry doesn't just look at intellectual learning. And that's one of the big problems of industrial civilization, that we have given all our attention to intellectual learning and hardly any attention to emotional learning and ethics. So in biomimicry, true biomimicry, as you see it in a circle, has three non-negotiable points: ethics, reconnection, and emulate. Emulate is what we talk about. That is 99% of what the media is covering and what you will see. That is what nature, you can learn from nature, which gives you economic or technological benefits. But that alone can again lead to a dysfunctional. So to balance it out, to make it more holistic, biomimicry says that we have to do all three things. What is the second thing? Ethics. No matter how good your technology is, always ask this question: is it creating conditions conducive for life? If not, go back. Often we have never asked this question just because it was economically viable. We created a technology and later somebody else paid for it. So in biomimicry, we make it non-negotiable. And the third is reconnect. Reconnect is something which in India, unfortunately, and even outside, although Europe is doing it, is our emotional connect with nature. There's no harm in saying that you should love nature. Go out in nature, because you will only be pretending. You will never fight to save something you don't love. Do you teach love? Inherently, humans love nature. It's just that we've lost our connection. So that is true education as far as we are concerned, and we think we have the answer. We need some bold leaders to adopt it and take it forward. But when you do ethics, reconnect and emulate, holistic education and a holistic, earth-friendly industry will emerge. And India has the possibility of becoming it. So where does biomimicry fit in? किस कॉलेज में डालोगे भाई? IIT में, everywhere. That's the great thing. That anybody can do it, right from an artist to a lawyer to a politician to an engineer. It fits everywhere because nature doesn't recognize engineer वगैरह. ये सब तो these are our works we have created.
इवन हमने अपना IRG
So it's a multidisciplinary field. But it needs an enabling approach. A little bit of coaching of systems thinking is required, and once you do that, you will find that you've unlocked huge potential. And never trust just one person. So don't trust me. I am here to provoke you. Now investigate and see if this makes sense. And I can tell you, if you now go back and look at all the spiritual and scientific people, they've all been telling us the same thing. Look at nature. Only thing is, even I did not know how. And today, biomimicry is giving us a way of how do we look at nature. And as I end my talk, I just want to say that it should always be one thing that I would request and submit to you. You could start doing is that even if you can't do anything, you're caught up in everyday worries. Like you have a habit of brushing your teeth. Can we just develop another habit? That is simply to ask, what would nature do here? And you don't have to have the answer. It doesn't matter.
We are in sync with what we are doing.
But reawaken your curiosity. Think about what would nature do here. That is a very, very powerful way to start shifting our world. I promise you. So with that, thank you. And not just thank you, I thank all my teachers. And when I say teachers, my teachers include cyanobacteria,
I think you'll have to give me some
other
time.
life forms, not just a consequence. So thank you. If there are any questions, I'll answer them.
Thank you, sir. I wish and I am hopeful that your educational and awareness campaigns will have a deep impact on all the youngsters and fellow citizens, and that they think before they are misusing or before they're exploiting the blessings of the nature. Before I end, I would like to thank Lex Kamori, Communication Director, Biomimicry from USA, for her contribution in realizing this event. So we have a couple of questions in the chat section. I think students have answered and answered. Few of them have answered one other's questions. But one question that has come up to me from one of my fellow colleagues is,
Discuss it with the developer
can we
and accordingly
have an idea of how evolution of the world happened by examining the nature?
Sorry, ma'am. Can you?
Yeah, sure, sir. I'll repeat. Can we get an idea of how evolution of this world took place by examining the nature? Like there are different evolutionary theories.
I can take lead.
How can we get the course of evolution by examining nature?
Yes. So Jazeeb ji, that's a very wonderful and a very important question, because after all, I think all of us will say, कि भाई, आपके पास proof क्या? And we should ask that question. We should never, nobody should be allowed to be an expert, including me. We should always ask that question. So when we look at evolutionary journey, we actually find the basis of what we are saying. So let me just, if I have time, I'll just give you a small point in the evolutionary journey. So आजकल, I don't know if you've heard the word blockchain. Have you heard the word blockchain? आजकल बड़ा ऐसा लगा हुआ है कि किसी महान व्यक्ति ने, somebody, I hope everybody understands a bit of Hindi. I'm sorry, I keep slipping into it. So everybody thinks that who must have thought of it? Where has it come from? Such an amazing thing. Now, what if I told you blockchain design principle is not 10-year-old, it is 1.8 billion-year-old? If I was to tell you that, तो आप क्या कहोगे? The question is, कैसे prove कर सकते हो? Now, evolution had a similar problem. And, earlier we all know most of plant life, animal life was self-replicating, what we call cloning. And then 1.8 billion-year-old, the design of sexual reproduction happen. Now let's look at it in terms of accounting and industrial way. Uska kya matlab hua कि जो now everything is a little unique. Now imagine the headache of ledger keeping. अरे भाई पहले तो सब कुछ एकदम सेम था. Account keeping was very simple. Now everything is a little different. That's why we have Aadhaar card. Otherwise जरूरत नहीं होती. So how did nature develop its ledger keeping system? So when two parties transact, a new ledger record, which is your chromosome or DNA, is created, which has all the information of both your parties, right? It is stored in a decentralized, distributed, sari cells mein hai. That is the fundamental design principle of blockchain. And when I spoke to scientists in US, I was on stage with 1,000 of them. And I said, "Sach batao." So they said, "This is way more sophisticated than where we are." So I would think, let us start our journey. Let it not be my telling to you. Let it be your discovery. Because all these things are there. We have to just understand how nature has solved it. And I just told you about blockchain. But as you start seeing even things like, additive manufacturing, what is the cutting edge of additive manufacturing? The government of India saying is fourth industrial revolution. ठीक है. अरे देखें तो सही साहब कि जो आप सॉफ्टवेयर खरीद रहे हैं वो किसको स्टडी कर रहे हैं. देखें. If you go a level deeper, you'll find, आप हमें ये बता क्यों नहीं रहे? Because there's no interest. अगर आपको बता दिया तो आप साथ में आ जाएंगे. So a lot of things are part of, and somehow we have to create that bridge with biology. We might feel कि अरे बहुत मुश्किल है, but अगर मुश्किल है तो अभी start करो. Then you can't postpone it. So I feel that we will discover that most of the things we think we are doing are already done. And I don't have the time today, but if we had a longer session, I would have given you enough examples. And you can look at what Harvard is investing in. देखिए कहाँ पैसा लगा रहे हैं? It's the Weiss Institute. You look at one of your biggest software companies like Autodesk. Where are they investing in? Biomimicry. Where is NASA investing it? Biomimicry. They have an entire center for biomimetics. Why? We should ask why. कोई पैसा क्यों लगाएगा? That's when you will start seeing. So my request to all of you is, in 1 hour I can't do much but provoke you to think. Please investigate, please see, and begin your own journeys. I don't know if I answered your question, Jasdeep, but
Yeah, sir, it was exactly answered, and I'm happy to tell you that this was asked by a computer engineer only. So would be happy that you related the answer to blockchains. You could well
computer
connect the
engineer.
dots. Yeah.
So please look at topological optimization algorithms.
It was asked by him.
Whether it's Altair or generative design of Autodesk. अंदर जाके देखिए ये आ कहाँ से रहा? Then you'll find it is all coming from study of bones and plants.
Thank you, sir, and I hope, Irfan, sir, your question has been answered. Sir, I think we are stretching the time too much. But one last submission that I have from you is, if you could just tell us 3 thumb rules or 3 rules or 3 some tender steps or tender habit changes that we could do on a daily basis to get more connect and to be a better or a good student of biomimicry. Just 3 tender steps or 3 budding steps as a startup, what we can do for our students, as a family, or for kids, anybody.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would say is DGP is our relationship to nature.
Yes, sir.
Abhi somehow we have started looking at nature as raw material. जब हम देखते हैं तो हम सोचते हैं ये मैं इसको इस्तेमाल कैसे करूं. When you look at a forest, you think of कि यहाँ मैं industry डाल दूं. No. First thing is start looking at it. What can I learn from it? So हमारा जो रिश्ता है वो बदलना चाहिए कि our connection with nature should be what can I learn from nature after all. So and start thinking functionally. What we say functionally, कि how is nature managing to say get water or protect itself. जो हमारे साथ तकलीफें आप सोचे नेचर के साथ भी तो हैं. So at least start wondering How is it able to heal itself? And don't worry about not having an answer. See, अगर न्यूटन को डर होता कि ये मैं क्वेश्चन ही ना पूछूं कि सर पे एप्पल गिर गया, बात खत्म. Our colonization has taken away, put a fear. Remove that fear. Please, remove that fear. Feel free to ask questions. Don't worry if you don't have the answer. So my first thing, I'm emphasizing that because we also teach at NID, and I've realized the most powerful thing is to take the fear out. उसमें बहुत time लग जाता है. But once you take the fear out and say कि at least मैं wonder तो कर ही सकता हूँ. तो wonder, start, reawaken your wonder. That how does nature do it? अरे मेरे को mosquito ने काटा. How did it understand where my blood vessel is? At least sense of wonder. So one thing is start asking how does nature do it? Not what I can do from nature. वो तो आप कर ही रहे हो. How does nature do it? So I think that's the most powerful question. And once you have that question, then use the tools you have. आप Google से पूछ लो. You know, today you have the capabilities which we didn't have. And don't feel shy of asking people. You never know. You might ask a question which somebody, a scientist in Soviet Union or Israel, somebody might answer. So become a student or a practitioner of 2022. All of us can become your bottlenecks. I'm telling you, हम सब लोग पुराने विचार आप पे ढोपेंगे. हमें seriously हमारे सामने ही लो, हमारे पीछे थोड़ा सा risk लो. So you should take the risk, use the opportunities available to you. Be fear-free and look at nature as a teacher. Don't worry if you have the answer, but your journey for the answer should begin.
Thank you, sir. It was really insightful. And before I wrap up this session, I extend my sincere gratitude to Ajay Thapa ji and his team for all the efforts they have put in making this event see the light of the day. And now I request our worthy principal, Madam Ritu Jamwal, to kindly present her vote of thanks.
Thank you, Jasdeep. Good morning, everyone. It's an honor to have been asked to offer a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of our college, I express gratitude to the speaker for sharing graceful words with us today. At the outset, I am highly thankful to our worthy director, Shri Sudarshan Kumar sir, for sharing and sparing time from his busy schedule to attend today's talk session on biomimicry design organized by Government Polytechnic Jammu. Sir, we are blessed with your presence and kind words of courage and wisdom. Sir, you are always a guiding force for organizing such events. I am highly thankful to you, sir. I extend special thanks to our keynote speaker, Mr. Prashant Dhawan ji, co-founder of Biomimicry India, for accepting our invitation and delivering enriched talk on in the session through his expertise on biomimicry. Sir, it was really a very nice session. I'm sure that this talk on biomimicry must have left a great impression on the minds of all the participants. It's rightly said, when there is teamwork and collaboration, wonderful things can be achieved. I also appreciate and thank the dedicated efforts of all the faculty members and students, especially Ajay Thapa and his team, who worked very hard to make this event a great success. Thanks to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. With these words, we now wrap up this today's session, and I'm very, very grateful to Prashant Dhawan sir for sparing his valuable time, and also to our director sir for sparing his time. Thank you all. Now we may end this session. Thanks all.
Thank you.
Thank you.